Rain had
What's
a
this
way of
supposed to
making
be?
the world
It doesn't
feel
look like
lonely.
standard rations.
It fell
It's a special
hard that
preparation.
night,
You might find
a
it
relentless
enlightening.
drumming on the tin roof of the old farmhouse that sat miles away from the nearest neighbor. Ethan Reeves stood at the window watching lightning crawl across the black sky, his reflection ghostly against the glass. It had been 2 years since his wife's accident, and the silence of the house had never stopped echoing. The only sound that mattered anymore was the small, rhythmic breathing from the little girl asleep on the couch behind him, his daughter, Lily. She was 7, with hair as wild as her mother's and eyes too wise for her age. She had stopped asking when Mommy would come home, but sometimes Ethan caught her whispering to the stars as if they were listening. Tonight she had fallen asleep, clutching the stuffed fox her mother gave her, the one with a missing ear. It was supposed to be just another night of loneliness and rain. But then came the knock. It wasn't loud, it was soft, hesitant, almost like a plea. Ethan frowned. No one came out this far, not in weather like this. He turned down the old radio on the counter, heart thudding with sudden unease. The knock came again, firmer this time. He reached for the baseball bat by the door and called out, "Who's there?" No answer, only rain and wind. He unlatched the lock and opened the door a few inches, peering into the storm. And that's when he saw her. A woman stood on the porch, soaked to the bone, water dripping from her silver hair that shimmered unnaturally even under the dim porch light. She wasn't shivering, but she looked exhausted, hollow-eyed, as if she'd walked through 100 miles of rain. Beside her stood a child, small, maybe 5 or 6, clutching the hem of her long, tattered cloak. The child's eyes caught the light and reflected it, not like a normal gaze, but like glass. Ethan's hand tightened on the doorframe. "You lost?" The woman raised her head. Her voice was soft, melodic, but there was something strange about the way she spoke, her words too careful, too measured. "Please, we need shelter, just for tonight." Ethan hesitated. "There's a motel 20 miles down the road." Her gaze didn't waver. "We don't have money." He glanced at the child, bare feet, soaked clothes, lips slightly blue. Every instinct screamed caution, but another voice whispered something else. What if it were Lily out there? What if it were Sarah, his wife, lost and begging for help? He opened the door wider. "You can come in, just until the storm lets up." The woman gave a slow, grateful nod and stepped inside, her movements graceful but deliberate, almost wary. The child followed silently, never looking away from Ethan. A faint hum seemed to follow them, low and barely audible, like the air itself was vibrating. "Thank you," the woman said. "My name is Anera." "Ethan," he replied automatically. "That's my daughter, Lily. She's asleep." Anera's eyes softened when she looked toward the couch. "She's beautiful." Something in her tone made him uneasy. It wasn't admiration exactly, more like sorrow. He gestured toward the fire. "You can warm up there. I'll get you towels." When he returned, Anera had removed her cloak. Beneath it, her clothes were strange, woven from a silvery fabric that looked both old and futuristic. It shimmered faintly in the firelight. The child sat close to her, silent and motionless, staring into the flames with eyes that looked far too dark. "Your daughter," Ethan said, trying to sound casual. "She's quiet," Anera smiled faintly. "She doesn't talk much. The world has not been kind to her." He handed her the towels, and for a moment their hands brushed. Her skin was cold, colder than it should have been. But before he could say anything, Lily stirred on the couch. "Daddy?" She murmured, blinking sleepily. Ethan went to her side. "Hey, honey, go back to sleep, okay? We've got guests." Lily rubbed her eyes, squinting at the woman by the fire. "She's pretty," she whispered. Anera smiled again, that same strange, knowing smile. "Hello, little one." Lily smiled shyly back, clutching her fox. "Hi!" The 2 children locked eyes then, Lily and the stranger's child. Something in the room shifted. The firelight flickered, casting long shadows across the walls. The hum grew faintly louder, like the house itself was listening. Then the other child blinked for the first time, and the sound stopped. Ethan forced a laugh. "Well, I'll get you both something warm to drink." He moved to the kitchen, trying to shake the tension building in his chest. His hands shook as he filled the kettle. He told himself it was nothing, just strangers, just rain and nerves. When he came back, Anera was staring at a photo on the mantel, a picture of Sarah holding Lily in the backyard, sunlight on their faces. Anera's expression was unreadable. "Your wife?" she asked softly. He nodded. "She passed. I'm sorry," Anera said, and there was a depth in her voice that felt ancient. "Loss leaves marks we never see." Ethan didn't know how to respond. He just handed her the steaming mug and sat across from her. The child still hadn't spoken, hadn't moved, except to glance at Lily every now and then. After a few minutes, Lily tugged at Ethan's sleeve. "Daddy, can she sleep in my room tonight?" He hesitated. "Honey, please." Lily insisted, eyes wide. Anera shook her head gently. "We'll stay here by the fire. We won't trouble you more than we have." "Suit yourself," Ethan said, though part of him was relieved. Something about the child's silence unsettled him. He tried to push the thought away. They were harmless. They had to be. He set out some blankets and returned to the couch with Lily, pulling her close. Outside, thunder rolled again, low and distant. The farmhouse creaked as if protesting the storm. For a while, the only sounds were rain and fire. Then, just as sleep began to take him, Ethan heard something, a faint whisper. It came from the corner of the room, where Anera and her child lay under the blankets. He couldn't make out the words, but it didn't sound like English or any language he knew. It was melodic, almost like a song, and beneath it, the hum had returned. He sat up slightly, frowning. "Everything all right?" Anera's eyes opened immediately, glowing faintly in the dark. "Yes," she said softly. "Go back to sleep, Ethan Reeves." He froze. He hadn't told her his last name. Before he could respond, Lily murmured beside him, half dreaming, "Mommy?" Ethan looked down. Lily's face was peaceful, her small hand clutching his shirt. Anera was still watching him, her expression unreadable, her eyes like liquid silver. Outside, the wind howled through the trees, and the rain fell harder than before. Somewhere deep in the night, a sound echoed, a metallic rumble, distant but growing closer. Like thunder that wasn't thunder. Ethan told himself it was nothing, but in his gut, he knew nothing about this night would ever be ordinary again. The morning sunlight filtered weakly through the rain-streaked windows, painting the old farmhouse in shades of grey and gold. Ethan woke to the faint scent of something floral, soft, unfamiliar, and oddly calming. For the first time in months, Lily was still asleep beside him, her small chest rising and falling in peaceful rhythm. The storm had passed, but the memory of the night before lingered like a shadow. He rubbed his eyes, half wondering if it had all been some strange dream. Anera, her child, that glow in her eyes. But when he turned toward the fireplace, he saw them still there. Anera was sitting cross-legged on the floor, her silver hair glinting faintly in the dim light. Her child was nowhere to be seen. "Good morning," Ethan said cautiously. Anera looked up. Her expression was calm, serene almost, but her eyes held a depth that made him feel as though she could see through him. "Good morning, Ethan Reeves," she replied softly. He frowned. "You remembered my name." "I don't forget kindness," she said, and there was something in her voice that made him believe her. He cleared his throat and stood. "Coffee?" "I don't drink," she said simply. "But thank you." He poured himself a mug anyway, trying to ignore how her gaze followed his every movement. Something about her presence filled the room, not in a threatening way, but as if the air itself bent slightly around her. Lily woke not long after, yawning and smiling when she saw Anera. "Morning," she chirped, her usual shyness gone. Anera's lips curved into a faint smile. "Good morning, little one." Lily climbed down from the couch and wandered over. "Where's your daughter?" Anera hesitated. "Outside," she said finally. "She likes to watch the sunrise." Ethan glanced out the window, expecting to see the child somewhere in the yard. But there was nothing. No small figure, no footprints in the wet soil, not even a disturbance in the tall grass. He turned back uneasy. "You let her go out alone?" "She's safe," Anera replied. "Safer than any of us." He didn't know what that meant, but he didn't press. Something told him not to. They sat in silence for a while. Lily started drawing on a notepad at the table, sketching what looked like stars and a tall woman with glowing hair. Anera watched her with quiet affection, a look Ethan recognized, one of longing. "You said last night that you had nowhere to go," he said at last. "Where are you from exactly?" Her gaze drifted toward the window. "Far," she murmured. "Too far for you to imagine. Try me." Anera's silver eyes met his. "My world burned, Ethan Reeves. Not with fire, but with light. The kind that eats everything. Air, stone, flesh. We ran, those of us who could. Some found refuge among the stars. Some fell here." He laughed softly, though it sounded more like disbelief. "You're saying you're what? Not human?" "I was once," she said, and the way she said it made the hair on his neck rise. "Until they changed us." He stared at her, unsure if she was insane, delusional, or something far stranger. "Who changed you?" Her voice dropped to a whisper. "The ones who made the light." Before he could ask more, Lily coughed, a small, sharp sound that quickly became a fit. She clutched her throat, gasping. Hey, breathe, baby," Ethan said, panic rising as he grabbed her. "She's been sick off and on, fevers, coughs. Doctor said it's a virus, but..." Anera was already kneeling beside him. "Let me help." He pulled back instinctively. "What are you..." But before he could stop her, she placed her hand on Lily's chest. A faint glow pulsed beneath her palm, soft and silvery, like moonlight reflected on water. Lily gasped once, twice, and then exhaled, the color rushing back into her cheeks. The glow faded. Ethan stared, speechless. "What the hell was that?" "She's fine now," Anera said, standing gracefully. "Her body just needed to remember how to heal." He looked down at Lily, already smiling as if nothing had happened. "No fever, no coughing? That's impossible," he whispered. "Not impossible," Anera corrected. "Just forgotten." Ethan didn't know whether to thank her or be terrified. The rest of the morning passed in uneasy quiet. Lily played, humming a tune Anera had softly sung to her earlier. The woman's child returned sometime after noon, appearing in the doorway without sound. Ethan jumped when he saw her, those eyes again glossy and black, reflecting nothing. "Eli," Anera said softly. "Say hello." The child blinked once but said nothing. Lily waved, unbothered. "Do you want to play?" Eli tilted her head, expression unreadable. Then she nodded once. The two girls vanished into the living room, leaving Ethan and Anera alone. He exhaled. "You healed her." "I told you," Anera said. "Your daughter needs a home." She turned her gaze toward the room where Lily and Eli were playing. "Mine wants a mother." Her words struck him like a blow. He didn't understand what she meant, but the way she said it, calm, resigned, almost mournful, made his stomach twist. "Look," he said, forcing steadiness into his voice. "I don't know who you are or what kind of trick you pulled, but you can't just trick," she interrupted, her tone suddenly sharp. "You think I enjoy this?" Her eyes flared, literally flared, silver light rippling across her irises. For an instant, Ethan saw something behind them, a vastness, stars, burning cities, and something moving through them like smoke with teeth. Then the light vanished. "I am not your enemy," she said quietly. "But they are coming, and if they find me here, they will find you." "Who's coming?" "The ones who hunt what's left of my kind," she said. "They can smell the difference between us. Between what was born of this earth and what wasn't." Ethan tried to speak, but words failed him. He stood frozen as she moved toward the window. Outside, the sky had darkened again. "Clouds gathering fast, too fast." "Eli," Anera called softly. The child appeared instantly at her side. "It's time to go." "No," Lily cried, running to them. "You can't leave yet." Ethan knelt beside her. "Honey, it's okay." But Lily shook her head. "She promised to teach me the song." Anera knelt, brushing a strand of hair from Lily's face. "Another time, little one." And then she hesitated. Her eyes darted toward the ceiling. Ethan followed her gaze, frowning. "What is it?" "Listen," she whispered. At first he heard nothing but wind, then faintly a hum. Not like before. This was deeper, resonant, vibrating through the floorboards and into his bones. Anera's expression turned grim. "They're close." Ethan stood, heart pounding. "Who?" But she didn't answer. She grabbed Eli's hand, her other hand reaching toward Lily. We have to move, Lily shrieked suddenly. Daddy, the walls are talking. Ethan spun around. The wallpaper seemed to ripple, faint symbols glowing beneath the surface, circles, lines, strange runes that pulsed faintly with light. And then, through the noise, he heard it whispering. His daughter's voice, "Daddy, Daddy, help." He turned to Lily. She was pale, trembling. "I didn't say that," she whispered. The whisper came again, louder, echoing from the walls. "Daddy, she's not what she seems." Ethan backed away, gripping Lily tightly. "What the hell is happening?" Anera's eyes flashed. "They found us," she said. "And if you want her to live, you'll listen to me now." The humming grew into a roar. Light began seeping through the cracks in the floorboards. The air smelled of ozone and burning metal. Ethan's voice broke. "What are you?" Anera met his gaze, her voice calm amid the chaos. "I'm the only thing standing between your world and what's coming next." Then the lights exploded, plunging the room into white. The days that followed blurred together, each one stranger than the last. The storm never really stopped. It just lingered at the horizon, grumbling like a predator too patient to strike. The sky stayed bruised, heavy with clouds that never broke. Anera and her child didn't leave. Ethan wanted to tell them to go, to reclaim the normal quiet of his broken home, but something in his gut told him they couldn't, or shouldn't. Lily was happier than she had been in months. She laughed again, played again, her cough never returned. Sometimes Ethan would catch her outside in the yard, holding Eli's hand, both girls staring up at the sky, as if listening to something he couldn't hear. When he called them, they'd look back and smile, but there was always a delay, as if part of them needed to return from somewhere far away. Anera helped around the house in quiet, unobtrusive ways. She cleaned, cooked with ingredients she'd never seen before, yet somehow got everything right. She moved with the grace of someone both fragile and strong, like a dancer who had forgotten what joy felt like. Sometimes she'd hum that strange melody again, the one she'd used to calm Lily during her fever. It made the walls vibrate softly, made the air shimmer, but it wasn't all peace. Every night Ethan woke to whispers. Sometimes they came from the walls, sometimes from outside his window, and sometimes from the attic. He'd go to check and find nothing, but Anera would already be awake, standing by Lily's door, her eyes reflecting the faint silver glow of the moon. "Go back to bed," she'd say softly. "They won't come tonight." He stopped asking who they were. He didn't want to know. One afternoon, as the rain finally broke into pale sunlight, Ethan found Anera on the porch, staring at a family photo he'd left on the table, him, Sarah and baby Lily. Her fingers traced Sarah's face, and her expression was unreadable. "You miss her," she said. He nodded. "Every day." She was strong. Ethan blinked. "You didn't know her." Anera looked at him then, and for a heartbeat he thought he saw guilt flicker across her face. "No," she said softly. "But I can see what she left behind." He leaned against the railing, studying her. "You talk like you've lost someone too." She hesitated before answering. "Everyone," she said simply. "Husbands, wives, children, homes. When my world burned, there was no time to say goodbye, only to run. What caused it?" Her gaze drifted toward the horizon. "We called them the architects. They built the stars, or so they claimed. But when they decided we were imperfect, they rebuilt us. Piece by piece." "You mean changed you?" "Improved us," she said bitterly. "That's what they believed. We were their experiment." He swallowed hard. "And Eli. She's one of them too." "She's what's left of both worlds," Anera said. "Born after the fall. Neither theirs nor fully mine." Ethan shivered. "So why are you here? On Earth?" "Because I was told this world still remembers what mercy feels like," she said, looking at him. "I wanted her to know that before they found us." He didn't know how to respond. He just nodded, staring out at the fields. That evening, Lily drew a picture and proudly showed it to him. Two women stood side by side, one with brown hair like her mother, the other with silver like Anera. Between them were two children holding hands under a blood-red sky. "Do you like it, Daddy?" she asked. He forced a smile.
"Yes, sweetheart."
"It's beautiful," but his stomach twisted. Later that night he woke to a sound, a metallic hum, faint but distinct, coming from the living room. He crept downstairs quietly, bat in hand. The glow came from the fireplace. Anera was there, kneeling before it, whispering words that didn't belong to any language he knew. Symbols burned faintly across the ashes, spiraling and fading like fireflies. Eli stood nearby, her black eyes locked on Ethan the entire time. When Anera finished, the hum stopped. She turned, startled to see him watching. "You shouldn't be here," she said. "I live here," he shot back. "You're the one performing seances in my living room." She straightened, her face calm again. "I was protecting your home." "From what?" "From what's coming." Ethan ran a hand through his hair. "You keep saying that, but I don't even know what it means. Are you being hunted by who? What are you dragging us into?" Her voice lowered. "You've already been dragged in. The night I stepped through your door, they felt it. They follow energy, fear, hope, love. They taste it like blood in the water. What do they want?" "Me," she whispered. "And anyone who shelters me." A crash came from upstairs. Both of them froze. Ethan bolted up the steps, Anera right behind him. Lily's room door was open, curtains fluttering wildly though the window was shut. The drawings on the wall were moving, literally shifting, the crayon colors pulsing faintly like veins of light. Lily sat upright in bed, eyes half open, whispering in that same strange tongue Anera used. "Lily!" Ethan rushed to her side. "Honey, wake up!" Her eyes fluttered, then opened fully. For a second he swore her pupils shimmered silver before returning to normal. "Daddy," she whispered. "They were here. The tall ones." Ethan's heart dropped. "What tall ones?" She pointed toward the window. "They said Mommy's waiting for me. In the red sky." Anera stepped forward quickly, placing a hand on Lily's forehead. "It's not her," she said sharply. "They're trying to mimic what she loves. Get away from her." Ethan snapped. Anera met his glare, unfazed. "If you want her alive, let me help." "Help? You're the reason this is happening." Something flickered in Anera's expression, pain. "Yes," she whispered. "I know." And then the lights flickered, once, twice. The hum returned, low, droning, powerful. The floor vibrated beneath their feet. "Downstairs," she ordered. "Now." Ethan hesitated, then grabbed Lily and ran. The walls creaked, as if something massive brushed against the house. From outside came a sound that didn't belong in any natural world, a chorus of whispers blending into one awful voice. "They've found us," Eli said suddenly from the foot of the stairs. The air shimmered near the windows. Shadows began to stretch, long and narrow, peeling off the floor like spilled ink, forming figures, tall, faceless, human-shaped, but wrong. "Get behind me," Anera commanded. Her skin began to glow faintly, her veins like threads of light. She pressed her palms together and whispered something Ethan couldn't understand. The air cracked, a shockwave blasting through the room. The shadows recoiled, screeching without mouths. For an instant, he saw them clearly, things of bone and smoke with hollow sockets where eyes should be. Then they melted back into the walls. Anera collapsed to one knee, gasping. "They're weakening the barrier," she said. "It won't hold much longer." Ethan knelt beside her, trembling. "What do they want from Lily?" "They don't want her," she whispered. "They want through her." "What?" "They can't enter this world freely." "But your daughter, she's pure, untouched. When I healed her, I opened something inside her. They smell it. They'll use it to cross." Ethan's mind reeled. "You mean you turned my daughter into—" "No!" she shouted. "I gave her life, but now I have to protect it." Lily clung to his leg, crying softly. "Daddy, I'm scared." He held her close, eyes darting toward the windows where the last traces of shadow flickered and vanished. Anera rose slowly, her light dimming. "They'll try again tomorrow night," she said quietly. "We have until then to decide who survives this." Ethan stared at her, cold fear crawling through him. "What does that mean?" She didn't answer. She just looked toward Lily, her silver eyes full of sorrow. "You'll understand when it's time." Outside, thunder rolled again, though the sky was clear. The sound echoed through the valley like a warning. That night, Ethan couldn't sleep. He sat by the window, watching the dark horizon. Anera stood in the yard, motionless, her silver hair rippling in the wind that didn't touch the trees, and behind her, faint and flickering, shadows moved, watching, waiting. The next day began in silence, not the peaceful kind that comes after rain, but the hollow stillness before something breaks. The air was heavy, metallic, like the moment before lightning strikes. Ethan didn't sleep the night before. He sat by the window, staring at the horizon that seemed to pulse faintly with a red shimmer, like the world itself was bleeding light. Anera was already awake, standing in the doorway with Eli beside her. She didn't look tired. Her eyes glowed faintly, her expression distant, like someone who'd already accepted something the rest of them hadn't. "They're coming tonight," she said. "The storm you saw isn't weather. It's them breaking through." Ethan rubbed his face. "Then we run. I'll take Lily. We'll drive, hide, whatever it takes." Anera shook her head. "If you run, they'll take her first." Her voice didn't rise, but it cut through him like a blade. "They can smell human blood," she added. "They'll follow the heat of it. And once they find her, they'll open her. Open her." He repeated, his throat dry. Anera's silver eyes met his. "They'll use her to cross. To make this world theirs." Ethan stepped forward, anger and terror fighting in his chest. "You did this to her. You brought this nightmare into my home." "I brought you warning," she said, calm but trembling beneath the words. "You gave me shelter. Now I give you truth." Before Ethan could speak, Lily ran in, clutching her stuffed fox. "Daddy, the sky's red again," she said softly. He turned. Through the window, the sun was gone, replaced by a dim crimson haze bleeding across the horizon. The light seemed alive, moving, flickering, pulsing like veins. Eli's black eyes widened. "They've started." The floor vibrated faintly beneath their feet. Dishes rattled. From somewhere outside came a low hum, rising, falling, like thousands of wings beating in rhythm. Ethan grabbed Lily, pulling her close. "We're leaving, now." But Anera blocked the door. "You can't. The moment you step outside, they'll see you." "Then what the hell do we do?" he shouted. Anera turned to Eli. "The circle," she said. The child nodded and ran to the center of the room. She knelt, pressing her small hands to the floor. Silver light spilled from her palms, tracing lines that spread outward, forming a perfect circle across the wooden boards. The glow burned brighter, humming with energy. "What is that?" Ethan asked. "A barrier," Anera said. "It won't hold long, but it will keep them out until I finish." "Finish what?" She looked at Lily. "Saving her." The house groaned as the red light outside deepened, seeping through cracks in the windows and doorframe. Shadows began to slither across the walls, long and thin, like skeletal fingers. One pressed against the barrier and sizzled, letting out a shriek that didn't sound human. Lily whimpered, clutching Ethan tighter. "And Daddy, they're whispering again." He could hear it too now, faint voices overlapping, murmuring words he couldn't understand, words that made his teeth ache just to hear. Anera moved to Lily, kneeling before her. "You're strong, little one," she said gently. "You have your mother's heart." Ethan's breath caught. "You didn't know Sarah." "Stop saying that." Anera hesitated, her eyes softening. "No," she said quietly. "But she knew me." "What?" Anera smiled sadly. "The day she died, she wasn't alone. I found her by the river before the fire spread. She was calling your name. And before she closed her eyes, she said, 'Find him. Protect them.'" Ethan's chest tightened. "You're lying." "I wish I were," Anera whispered. "She saved me, Ethan. That's why I came back." He stared at her, disbelief and grief colliding inside him. Before he could respond, the windows shattered. Red light poured in, flooding the room. Figures stepped through it, tall, thin, faceless, their skin like molten glass shifting between solid and liquid. The air smelled of metal and ozone. Eli screamed, her small body trembling. "They're breaking it." Anera turned to Ethan. "Hold her," she said. "Whatever happens, don't let her go." She stepped inside the circle, her silver hair lifting as if caught in invisible wind. Her voice rose, not words, but sound, layered and harmonic, vibrating through the air. The walls rippled like water. The faceless beings shrieked and lunged, slamming against the barrier. Cracks formed in the glowing circle, spider-webbing outward. Ethan clutched Lily tighter. The girl's small hands burned hot against his skin. "Daddy," she whispered, "it hurts." Anera turned, tears glistening on her cheeks. "I'm sorry, Lily, I should have told you sooner." She pressed her hand to Lily's chest. A burst of white light flared between them, so bright Ethan had to shield his eyes. "What are you doing?" he cried. "She'll survive," Anera said softly. "But I won't." The creatures screamed as the light grew, dissolving their forms like smoke in fire. The walls shook violently. Anera's body began to disintegrate, threads of silver light peeling from her skin, swirling into the air. "Stop!" Ethan shouted, reaching for her, but his hand passed through her like mist. Anera looked at him one last time, her voice faint but steady. "Tell her I kept my promise." Then she stepped forward into the red light. The world exploded into silence. When Ethan opened his eyes, the house was still. The air was heavy with the smell of rain and ash. The red glow outside was gone. The circle on the floor had burned into black char, still faintly smoking. Anera and Eli were gone. Lily was lying on the floor, eyes closed. Ethan rushed to her side, terrified, but she was breathing calm and steady. He pulled her into his arms, sobbing with relief. "Daddy," she whispered, her voice small. "Where did she go?" He swallowed hard. "She went home, sweetheart." Lily opened her eyes slowly, and Ethan froze. Her eyes were no longer brown. They were silver, the same liquid silver as Anera's. "Daddy," she said softly, "I remember everything." He pulled back slightly, his heart pounding. "What do you mean, Lily?" Her gaze drifted toward the window, where the clouds had cleared, revealing a pale dawn. "The fire, the sky, the place where Mommy went. I remember her voice, and Anera's." Ethan tried to steady his breathing. "Sweetheart, you've been through a lot. She's still here," Lily said, cutting him off. "Not gone. Just inside." And then she smiled. It wasn't the innocent, childish smile he knew. It was calm, ancient, knowing. Outside, the horizon glowed faintly again, not red but silver like starlight bleeding into dawn. The storm had passed, but the world didn't feel the same. Ethan held her tightly, staring out into that pale light, feeling something vast and cold, watching from beyond. The wind whispered through the cracks of the old farmhouse, carrying a voice so faint he almost thought he imagined it. "Thank you." Lily looked up at him, her silver eyes reflecting the morning sun. "Daddy," she whispered. "She said it's our turn now." He frowned, confused. "Our turn for what?" Lily's smile widened just slightly, to make this world new, and as the first rays of light touched her face, the hum returned, soft and low, spreading through the floorboards like a heartbeat awakening beneath the earth.